project batches, my 3 project batches, please be ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon we will have a meeting. Okay, so you have to. I will set up a meeting at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll discuss about the project and final project you have to give, because we have to give by 13th. So tomorrow will be 11th, and if there is more iteration needed, you will have 2 more days to work on that. And tomorrow we have to finalize. I will send the invite tomorrow. My batches can join. Okay. So in the module 3, we will talk about the JavaScript, and this JavaScript can be on client side as well as the server side. Here we will be using the client side scripting. So we'll focus on client side scripting. We'll understand what is JavaScript and what can it do. JavaScript design principle. What are the most common design principles or the protocols that are used for the JavaScript? Where does JavaScript go? And we'll see the syntax. Syntax about the different constructs we have for the JavaScript. We'll look into that. JavaScript objects, then DOM, document object model, JavaScript events. What are the different events we can have? Forms. This is one part, and second part is introduction to server-side development with PHP. What is server-side development? A web server's responsibility, quick tour of PHP, program control, functions. These are the things we are going to look into the module 3. We will start with the JavaScript on the client side. First is what is JavaScript? JavaScript, it is a scripting language, okay, and that can be used for the many of the tasks it can do. One of the major tasks that is used is a validation. We can do a validation if you want to do the processing, all the capabilities, whatever the programming language capability is required, all those are present for the JavaScript. And where does the JavaScript runs? It will runs inside the browser. And JavaScript is dynamically typed. JavaScript is object oriented. In almost everything in the language is an object. So JavaScript is an object oriented language. I hope everybody understand what is the object oriented language. What are the different concepts of the object oriented language? That you will understand. And JavaScript is not fully fully object-oriented language like other languages like Python and Java. Those implement all the concepts of the object-oriented language. So you may not see some of the concepts here. For example, inheritance, polymorphism, things like that. The objects in JavaScript are prototype based rather than class based, which means that while JavaScript shares some of syntactic features of PHP, Java or C Sharp, it is also quite different from those languages. So it is some of the syntax that are used, these are very similar to the other languages, but its features are quite different from the other languages. So one of the misconception is like, although it contains the word JavaScript and Java are vastly different programming languages with different uses. Okay, so JavaScript and Java are two different languages, and their uses are also different. So Java is a fully object-oriented language. It can be extensively used on the middle layer or the business layer, data layer, things like that, on the as a web server processes. JavaScript, even though it can be used on the server side, predominantly it is used on the browser side. Java is a full-fledged compiled object-oriented language, popular for its ability to run on any platform with a JVM installed. So Java, we know that it's a very popular language with a lot of capabilities, and most important aspect of Java is it can run on any kind of a platform where there is a Java virtual machine. If we have the Java virtual machine, same component of Java can be run in a different kind of platform. That is the main capability of the Java language. So JavaScript is one of the world's most popular languages with fewer of the object-oriented features of Java and runs directly inside the browser without the need for the JVM. So JavaScript, it doesn't have all the features of the object-oriented languages, but it is very popular. It runs on the browser. It doesn't require any kind of a virtual machine. Java needs a Java virtual machine. This doesn't need anything. It will run inside the browser. So here is the example. The user, he requests a certain HTML document. So vacation.html, he puts it in the URL. The request is sent to the web server, and web server responds with the HTML page. So HTML page, it will look like this. Then once it returns here, execute any JavaScript as required. Once this HTML document is rendered back on the browser, if there are any JavaScript, okay, that are needs to be executed, that will get executed here, and after that browser can display the layout, and browser can put the layout, and it can display the page to the user. This is how it will happen. So when HTML page is returned to the browser, that is when, if there are any JavaScripts to be executed, then it will get executed on page load. And we will see some of the events, JavaScript events. We can have certain JavaScript code which will run based on the events. Let us say you are putting some kind of a validation based on the click event of any button. On the click, that particular function will be called, a particular JavaScript will be called, and it will be executed. So there are many advantages of client-side scripting, also disadvantages. And what are the advantages we have for the client-side scripting? Processing can be offloaded from the server to the client machines, thereby reducing the load on the server. So this is one of the advantage. What it will do is, like, whatever the processing load is there, so if all the load is put on the server, okay, normally it is called as a thin client or a thick client. So some of the load which are not required to be processed by the server can be offloaded to the client side. So that is a one advantage. Most of the time, very simple, like validations, like whether it is a number or not, things like that, which need not go to the server, because it will go over the network as a request. It gets the response. Once based on the response, it will give the validation error, right? Instead of making all this round trip, so it will, user experience will be hindered. So what we can do is, we can put the scripting on the browser side, so that the whatever the validation, it will take locally on the browser, so it doesn't make a trip to the server. That is how it will be a faster, and the web application will be more responsive. The browser can respond more rapidly to user events than the request to a remote server ever could, which improves the user experience. So as I told, it will improve the user experience, because once the request is going to the server, and processing will happen, and when it comes back, definitely it will take more time compared to processing to be done on the browser. So user experience will be better. JavaScript can interact with the downloaded HTML in the way that server cannot, creating a user experience more like a desktop software than the simple HTML ever could. So when we have the JavaScript, so it will directly interact with the HTML which is downloaded, and it can give a more faster, richer experience, which is very similar to a desktop. You know, the desktop application, in case of a desktop application, everything is loaded on the client, so it is faster. For example, we don't have the projects built on the as a desktop application nowadays. Like, desktop application is like a tools. Many of the tools you use, for example, MS Office, other softwares which are on your system. Those are the desktop application which are very fast in response because they are running locally. They are not interacting with any kind of a server. However, there are disadvantages of client-side scripting are mostly related to how programmers use JavaScript in their application. First thing is there is no guarantee that the client has the JavaScript enabled. So here one issue with the user is if user has a disabled the JavaScript, then there is no way that that particular client will get the JavaScript. Then idiosyncrasies between idiosyncrasies is like a difference in the behavior between the various browser and operating system make it difficult to test for all the potential client configuration. What works in one browser may generate an error in the another. So there are different behavior. So from one browser to another browser, and for the same browser from version to another version. So the behavior will be different with respect to the JavaScript. That will make the application development very challenging because the behavior cannot be tested for similar behavior cannot be expected over all the systems, and the testing becomes very difficult. JavaScript heavy web application can be complicated to debug and maintain. So I told you if you make a thick client application, user experience will be better. User experience will be better, but if you put a lot of functionality on the JavaScript side, it will become very complicated. Okay, and if there are, let us say, any problems or errors, it's very difficult to debug in such cases. If things are on the server side, the behavior is consistent on the server side. Okay, it is a request and the response. How it is responding, it is well controlled. How request is getting to the particular process and how it is responding, it is the behavior is consistent irrespective of the what kind of a users we have, what kind of a browsers we have, right? It could be different browsers, different versions of the browsers, but the request, the kind of a request that will go is exactly the same. So the processes on the server are more consistent and easy to maintain. Okay, JavaScript is not only the type of client-side scripting. We can use like JavaScript is not only the client-side scripting. There are other browser plugins are there. Example, Flash is there. How that will work is same example here. User will request the page vacation.html. Server will give a response with a HTML document. Okay, once it receives the HTML document, then let us say it has some kind of a plugin, so it will send another request to get this particular resource game.swf, and this request goes, then server will response will be with that particular file. It will respond with a file to the browser. Browser delegates handling of the game.swf to plugin. So it will understand what kind of a plugin it should be given based on the file extension. It will give it to the Flash plugin. Flash plugin will execute that particular SWF file and it gives back to the browser. And this is how the browser will display it on the particular HTML page. And another example is applets. Applets you have already seen object-oriented concept. In the object-oriented concept, you worked on the Java applets. So those are also client-side scripting. Java applets are written in and are separate objects included within the HTML document via the applet tag. So we use the applet tag to create the applets. Applets are downloaded, okay, on the browser, and they are executed using the help of the Java runtime. So in this particular case, in case of an applet request, again the request will go for the server vacation.html. HTML document is given to the browser. Then let us say there is a request for a certain applet ab.class that request will come here, and server will respond with that particular applet. Applet will come here. Now that particular browser will have a Java plugin. That file is given to the Java plugin. Plugin processes the control to JRE. So this particular class is given to the plugin, and that particular plugin uses the JRE to execute that particular class. Java runtime environment is there. JRE executes that particular class, and whatever the operation is required, it is executed, and that is what will be displayed on the browser. JavaScript history. JavaScript was introduced by Netscape. If you recall, there was an earlier browser. Netscape is one of the earliest browser. That company, they created the browser. They were in the browser industry. Their domain was mainly on the browser related things. So those are the one who created the JavaScript. And JavaScript is implementation of a standardized scripting language called ECMA script. So this is a standardized scripting language called ECMA. Whatever the ECMA script, that implementation is nothing but the JavaScript. JavaScript was only slightly useful and quite often very annoying to many users. Initially, usefulness was not understood, and users felt it little annoying. So this is a HTTP request and response loop without the use of the JavaScript. How it will happen? First is like a user will request a particular form.php. Okay, user is requesting this particular through get HTTP request, and user will be given with the HTML document with a form, and the form will look like this. You can see there is a country, a radio button, then we have a one update button, then we have a select list. This is given back to the browser. Then on the browser, user selects a country, then clicks update button. So if you can see here, user has selected the Canada, and he clicks on update. Once that update happens, again the request will go to the back to the server. See, you have seen the query string, right? How the data is sent to the server. You can see form.php is submitted to the server, and whatever the variable, this country, the selected value will be sent as country is equal to Canada. Once the web server gets that information, then what it will do? It will do certain kind of a processing. Then it will send the whatever the requested page. So here requested page with the updated information. It will send with the updated information. In the updated information, what will happen? For this particular select, we will provide the list of values. So based on the query Canada, we will find what are the different states are there or provinces are there. You can see the province is also replaced, the label is also replaced, and the different provinces are given back. This is how it will be shown to the users. User continues with the form, perhaps triggering other requests. So this is how it will be done with a regular request response loop without using the HTTP. Okay. So here with HTTP, similarly request will come here. This is the response. After browser receives a response to the HTTP request, it initially blanks the browser window, and then it renders the just received HTML in the browser window. Whatever the HTML document it received, it will display it on the browser, and that when you select a particular country, radio button, and when you click the button, again request will go here, and response will come back. initially another new response has been received, so browser will become blank, and then renders the whatever the HTML it is received, it renders on the browser window. So this is how happens. So this is also without using the whatever we talked about in the earlier. This is how actually it is done without the JavaScript. JavaScript in modern times, Ajax. JavaScript became a much more important part of web development in the mid 2000 with Ajax. Ajax is both an acronym as well as a general term. Ajax is actually it's a acronym, but it is used as a general term. What it means is it is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. The most important feature of Ajax sites is the asynchronous data request. So asynchronous data request is here you saw the kind of a request and response. Whenever we are submitting, right, the complete form gets submitted to the server, and when server is responding, it will be rendering a new HTML page. uh, so this will have a suppose if web application has a lot of functionality, then what happens is this will become a problem again. Suppose let us say a certain part you are working on certain part of the web application. Whenever you do something and when you do submit or you need some information from the server, the whole screen will blank out. Again it will be painted. Okay, again it will become blank, and whatever the HTML is received, it will receive for all the parts and it will be displayed. How to make it asynchronous? That is a synchronous. Asynchronous is using Ajax. What it will do is, let us say only one part. Let us say you are updating weather, okay, temperature. So only that particular widget, okay, we can have a widget. Only that particular widget will make a asynchronous call to the server. It will get the information and it will load that particular part of the page. That is how Ajax is very helpful in making the website more responsive. So this is a asynchronous data request. What will happen? Request will come for certain page, and a response will come. After browser receives a response, it will first it will blank out, it blanks, and then whatever the HTML is received, it will display it in the HTML browser, and user clicks. Okay, user is clicking on the update. He will select certain country and he will click. Now you can see once user is doing the click event, via JavaScript, browser makes a asynchronous request for the data. So now we need a data. What kind of a data we need? For the selected country, we need a states or a provinces. That information is needed, but that information is requested to the server using a asynchronous call using a JavaScript. And once server receives that particular request, it will process it based on which type of a country, which country it is. It will get the provinces or the state, and it will respond to the browser in the form of a XML or a JSON or some other type of a data. The way you have programmed it, either you can take the response as a XML, JSON, or any other format that will be received. And once it is received via JavaScript, it will dynamically updates the window to change the label as well as the list of values. So here the Canada is sent, the data is sent is Canada. It will process it, received as a XML. JavaScript now what it will do is dynamically you are not seeing the page is blanking out again. So dynamically it will change the label as well as the list of values. Okay, so here it did not load the complete page once again. It just updated the whichever the information is required. This is a asynchronous data, unlike the previous one. You can see, so here a request. Okay, the request is going here, first time loading the page onto the HTML on the browser window, and when user click on the update, again a request is sent. Again screen will, when it responds, first the whole screen will go blank out, then whatever the HTML that is received, it will be shown on the browser window. So instead of doing this, when update button in case of a asynchronous, only when using a JavaScript, only that request is sent as a asynchronous request, and it will get the data, and dynamically it will update this label as well as this list of values in this particular drop down. Okay, so there are many framework, and the frameworks provide a lot of built-in controls already. So some of the controls are date picker, then accordion we have, then autocomplete feature, lightbox, image slider. Many things are there which are given as a part of the framework. So we don't have to worry about many of these things which are already come in as a, parcel of the particular framework. JavaScript design principles. So whenever we are making any application, so we have to think about the design. Okay, how the design would be. Yeah, if you think in terms of the layers, okay, there would be different layers you want to keep. You can have a first one is the always the presentation layer where user is interacting with the web application, and then you can have different kinds of business layers where business processing happens. It depends on the application, what kind of application and how many layers you want to have. At least you will have some kind of a business layer, then application layer, then data layer. Okay, so those is the layered structure. That is a one way of doing the design. When designing a software to solve the problem, it is often helpful to abstract the solution a little bit to help build cognitive model in your mind that you can then implement. So you have to think about, you should have a overall idea of the particular web application you are designing. Then you can have some kind of a cognitive model, what how you want to structure it. And the most commonly used is perhaps the most common way to articulating such a cognitive model is via the term layer. Okay, object oriented programming software layer is a way of conceptually grouping programming classes that have similar functionality and dependencies. So layer is nothing but you are just grouping whichever has the a similar kind of a functionality or common kind of a dependencies are there. You will group them together and you call them as a layer. So these are the most commonly used layers. These are not the only layers. These are most commonly used layers. Presentation layer, classes focused on the user interface. Whatever user related interaction, and what are the classes that are dealing with that particular interface, they can be called as a, they can be grouped under the presentation layer. And next is the business layer, classes that model real world entities such as customers, products, and sales, whatever the underneath business which are taking care of that business. So here example given is it could be customers, products, sales, transactions, whatever is related to the business, that can be put as a business layer. And next one is the data layer. So whenever these are the classes that handle and interaction with the data sources, whichever are the data sources. For example, data source could be your database, or it could be a file. Okay, it could be an external database, it could be anything. So the classes which will deal with the data, those are classified as a data layer. So this is how the layers can be. This is just a conceptual thing. So most of the web application will be layered in this way. You will have HTML, okay, to provide style to the HTML. You will have CSS and the classes which will help with the user interface, that JavaScript presentation layer, and you can have a different kind of a validations. So you can create a separate layer for JavaScript validation. Then JavaScript asynchronous. Suppose if you are making lot of asynchronous calls, in the earlier example you saw, there is a asynchronous request to the server to get the different states belonging to certain country. That is a one call. If you have many such calls, asynchronous calls on your web application, you can group them together and you can make that layer as a JavaScript asynchronous and JavaScript framework. So whichever the framework you are using, example jQuery or any other JavaScript framework you are using, so you can put on top of that. So this is how it would be like. First comes the HTML, CSS, presentation layer, validation layer, synchronous layer. Whole thing sits on the particular framework, that framework you are using. Users without JavaScript. So there are certain users, they do not use the JavaScript. Okay. Example is a web crawler. And what is a web crawler? It's a client running on the behalf of search engine to download your site so that it can eventually be featured in their search results. So web crawler is the one. Browser plugin, browser plugin, piece of software that works within the browser that might interfere with the JavaScript. So it can interfere with the JavaScript because it gets loaded inside the particular browser. Okay, so it can interfere with the JavaScript. Text-based clients. So some browsers are text-based. Okay, so they will not be having the JavaScript. Then visually disabled client. So it is a client which will use the a special web browsing software to read the contents of the web page out loud for visually disabled. So this particular software will read out particular page. So those are the one without JavaScripts. So these are the example, links and web IE, no script tag. Okay. Uh, this is one mechanism to interact with those users who does not use JavaScript. Any text between opening and closing tags will only be displayed to users without the ability to load the JavaScript. So if you use the no script tag inside your HTML document, it will be displayed to those users who do not have the ability to load the JavaScript. So that is how you can use the no script to interact. Suppose let us say some user, even though is capable of interacting with the capable of loading the JavaScript, but he has a disabled it. What you can do is you can put a message saying that enable the JavaScript to get the complete experience of the web application. So it is often used to prompt the users to enable JavaScript, but can be used to show additional text to search engines. Okay, for search engines, it can work as an additional text information. Requiring JavaScript or Flash for the basic operation of your site will cause problems eventually and should be avoided. So since this needs to be loaded, eventually if you are using such things, whether it's a JavaScript or Flash, it might cause some of the problems in future. This approach of adding functional replacements for those without JavaScript is also referred to as fail-safe design, which is a phrase with a meaning beyond web development. Okay. Graceful degradation and progressive enhancement. Okay, so there are two approaches you can use. Either you can have graceful degradation and or progressive enhancement. Over the years, browser support for different JavaScript objects has varied. Something that works in the current version of Chrome might not work in IE version 8. Something that works in a desktop browser might not work in the mobile browser. So I told you like there are a lot of discrepancies, lot of support. There is a difference in the support from browser to browser, from version to version. So you will see some of the things might not work or the behavior would be totally different. What we can do is we can follow two approaches. One is called as a graceful degradation and a progressive enhancement. What is a graceful degradation? In this strategy, you develop your site for the abilities of the current browser. So what you will do, whatever is the existing browsers we have, which are available in the market, you will develop your web application for those browsers. And for those who do not have the current browser, you might provide an alternate site or page, or those using the older browser that lack the JavaScript used on the main site. So what you will do, you can identify what version they are using, and based on that, you can give some alternate pages. The alternate pages will not require, let us say, JavaScript, or maybe some kind of a CSS which is not supported for that particular browser or that particular version, or maybe some HTML5 tags. So you can provide an alternate pages to deal with that. The idea here is that the site is degraded, that is, loses capability gracefully with the pop-up JavaScript error code without considering messages telling users to upgrade their browser. So here the functionality will degrade. Okay, when a certain support is not there, you will provide alternate pages with degraded functionality. So this is how it will gradually degrade, and you will not prompt users to load any kind of do the upgrade or enable JavaScript. You will not be doing that kind of a thing. So this is an example of a graceful degradation. So graceful degradation, the concept here is you will develop the site with the whatever is the current version of the browsers. So if you are developing for, let us say, 4 browsers, and each of the browser has different version as a current version, you will develop for those particular versions of the browsers. And let us say the user doesn't have those browsers or those versions, then you will gradually degrade. For example, here you can see here a color palette. Okay, suppose the kind of a version the user is using, it is not supported, then it will be coming as a just a input box where user will give the hexadecimal code for that particular color. Here he has a nice palette where he can select the required color, and here you can see there are two controls here. This is the range, select the value within 0 to 9. So this is a nice range, that kind of very good displays there, and validation is taken care inside. So user cannot cross 0 or 9. He has to be inside that value. And this particular date control, it provides gives a calendar where user easily selects a particular date, and so it will not require any kind of a validation. So in the degraded version, what you will do, you will take it as a again input text value, and you will specify here enter between 0 and 9. Here you have to do the additional validation, right? Whether that particular number is between 0 and 9, you have to do that kind of a validation. Date, same, it is taken as a text. The validation has to be performed on degraded version. So this is how you can take care. The next one is the progressive enhancement. In this case, the developer creates the sites using CSS, JavaScript, HTML features that are supported by all the browsers of certain age or newer. To that baseline site, the developers can now progressively for each browser enhance, that is add functionality to their site based on the capabilities of the user browsers. So in this approach, what user will do, he will take all the CSS, JavaScript, HTML features that are supported by most common browsers and their versions, set of versions. So let us say a certain feature is supported by IE 10, version 10, A9 and 8. So all those things will be taken, whichever is common, and the development is done on the basis of this common features. Then whatever is the extra features, right, additional features, you will add them progressively based on, let us say a particular user has IE9, and in the IE9 certain things are supported more compared to IE8, you will include that. Similarly IE10, you progressively you will keep on giving the you will keep on increasing the user experience. Suppose a certain user he has IE10, he will get the complete rich experience. Then because your development is based on the progressive enhancement, so that is one way of doing it. So this is the main site you are going to develop, because these are the controls which are supported by most commonly used versions of the browsers and the different browsers. You will develop your application for this particular controls which are supported, and you will progressively you will enhance. Okay, you will make the enhancement. Suppose if this is let us say IE8. Okay, IE8, these controls are supported by IE8, 9, 10, right? And in case of a IE10, let us say color palette is supported. Okay, color HTML tag is supported, range is supported, date is supported. You will check if it is IE10, you will provide these enhanced versions. Okay, now we know that what is JavaScript, how it can be used. Okay, what are the design structures we have to use for the JavaScript? What are the advantages, disadvantages? Now, we know that JavaScript will run inside the browser, but where it will go inside the HTML document. Okay, so there are three different ways we can include the HTML. Include the JavaScript which is linked to an HTML page. Either we can have it as a inline, okay, uh, or we can use it as a embedded, and or we can have it as an external file. It is very similar to the CSS. In CSS also you saw the same. The styles can be used as inline, or it can be embedded in the head section, or it can be used as the external file, and the link will be provided in the HTML document. Similarly, on similar lines, we can use the JavaScript. First one is the inline JavaScript. In case of a inline JavaScript, it refers to the practice of including JavaScript code directly within certain HTML attributes. So inside the HTML attributes, you can use the JavaScript code. Inline JavaScript is a real maintenance nightmare. So if you use inline JavaScript, maintenance is very, very difficult, right? Once you develop your web application, later if there are any problems, when you open all the HTML, all the CSS, and all the JavaScript code is inside your HTML page. So it is very difficult to maintain and debug if there are any problem. So from maintenance perspective, it is not a good idea to have the inline JavaScript. Here we can see two examples. First one is the link. Okay, link we have href JavaScript open window. See, this is open window is one of the functionality that is provided by the JavaScript, that is included in the HTML, which is A. And after that, we have a closing bracket should be here. Then we have a text more info, and it will form as a link, which will open particular window. Next one is the input. Type is a button, and we have a on click event here. So on click in the on click event, we have provided certain JavaScript code. Alert, are you sure? Alert is what? It will display a message, a pop-up window will come, and it will show the message. Okay, I will show the code for this. Okay, so this is just simple inline, whichever the example that is shown in the presentation. I have used the same one. You can see here inside the body I have href JavaScript colon open window. Okay, then more info, that is the content. Then I have one button. Okay, there is no name for the button. Okay, and just there is a on click event, and inside the on click I have some JavaScript which says which has a like we have used alert will it will open up a window and it will display whatever the content is inside this particular, which is sent as a parameter. I will load this page. Okay, so there is no much content here. So open window, it is not defined, so that's why you're not seeing it here on the click. This is the button. We didn't give the name or a label for that. That's why it is looking like this. So this is the button, and for this button, on click event is set to give an alert. If I click on that on click, I'll get a message. Okay, are you sure? That is the message you will get. When you say okay, nothing will happen. Okay, this will be, it will be just displaying as a there is no interaction with a server. When I'm clicking on this particular button, everything is happening on the client side. Okay, we are just running that piece of a JavaScript which will display the message on the client side. One is inline, and next one is embedded. Embedded JavaScript. Embedded refers to the practice of replacing a Java script code with a script element. So we are will be using this script element. This inside the script element, you will have all your JavaScript code. So this is the example. Opening tag script. What is the type? Either text or a JavaScript. And this is the closing angle. Then inside what we have the alert and says hello world, and this is how you can put the comment in the JavaScript. So this is very similar to your C programming and many other languages which uses the comments / asterisk. Inside everything will be comment until it closes asterisk and / and we have all the JavaScript code inside, and then we'll have the closing script tag. I will show example for that. Okay, so here in the HTML body I do not have anything, just I have one button. You can see in the head section I have included the JavaScript, and JavaScript just has a one code, that is to generate an alert. Now this particular, in this case, whatever the JavaScript I have, it will get loaded when the page loads. When the browser loads the HTML, it will get executed. Whatever the JavaScripts we have written, it will get executed. This is the example. Okay, so whenever I'm loading the page, see, then it will display the button. So when I'm reloading, it will run all the JavaScript. Okay, if you are using it as an external file, it will get loaded, and then HTML document, it will be displayed on this particular browser window. So when I say okay, in the browser HTML, I have only one button. That particular button will be displayed here. Okay, the third way is to using the external file. Okay, external JavaScript, which we will see it in the next class.